Welcome to the Ironman Insider podcast presented by Morton. I'm your host, Matt Lieto, and every time we get on this podcast, we're lucky enough to be able to chat with some of the great athletes in our sport. Not often am I able to go to the home of that great athlete, but fortunately,
in Bend.
Yeah, I know. Fortunately, Paula Findlay lives right down the road here in Bend, Oregon, and we're going to sit down and have a chat after a pretty big week. Little Ironman Oceanside 70.3 victory, and then all the travel in between.
Yeah. Eric and I drove back from Oceanside, so we got back a couple of days ago, and we're just kind of settling back in, getting back into training, and I find it much easier to get back into a groove when I've had a good race. You know, it's easy to be motivated and look forward to the next thing. So
that's awesome. Is it easier to like not feel like you need to rush into it as well after that, or no?
I don't know. I'm very critical of myself, and although I won the race, I am not totally satisfied with how everything went, but I think that's good for Oceanside since it's so early in the year, and you don't want to come out of it having had the perfect race where you're like, oh, I have nothing to improve. This is perfect.
Right.
So I definitely feel like I need to work on a lot of things, especially on the bike, and that motivates me. So yeah, I don't necessarily feel rushed to get into things, but my body's kind of bounced back pretty quickly, and knowing St. George is coming up, which is my favorite course ever, that's kind of getting me back into it quicker than I would otherwise.
Awesome. Sweet. Yeah. It's for West Coast in the US, all the best races are kind of early, right? Like there's like the ones that you want to do, the St. George, the Oceanside, they're all pretty, and it's pretty early coming from Bend to be able to train for those races. Yeah.
In particular, Oceanside, I think that's what makes it so challenging for a lot of the U.S. or Canadian athletes that train in the Northwest or in Oregon. You're coming out of a lot of winter training, a lot of indoor riding, and to put yourself into a race I'd say Oceanside is like a fairly technical course from a perspective of like the roads aren't perfect and you have to be kind of sharp on your bike. But I definitely didn't feel sharp coming into that after barely riding my TT bike outside. And you know how Bend is, it's like we can ride outside a bit, but usually I'm on my gravel bike or not riding aero and practicing those skills. So usually the gap between Oceanside and St. George is enough to get a good block in the spring and feel like a little more competent on my bike. So that's...
No, I think that's fair. There were a couple years at Oceanside, like all my rides leading in were on the trainer going in, right? And it's you're right, it's not like air quotes technical, but when you're riding a trainer, like you're like, oh, I need to steer out of the way of that pothole in front of me. Like you're just not like used to doing any of the things that riding outside.
It's like your brain isn't quite sharp yet, but you can put out a lot of watts. So I think the trainer makes you really strong. And actually the one race I did exclusively riding the trainer was Challenge Daytona in 2020. I was like training all indoors leading into that, but it was on a racetrack, that Daytona track where you don't even have to look up because it's so perfect. In real 70.3 racing, Ironman racing, you really do have to be outside practicing the skill, I think. Right. Not just being good at watts.
No, this is true. Okay, so I want to talk about those two races and certainly detail on 70.3 Oceanside, but I want to give people context if, our memory is, I think, short in triathlon and probably in anything. Recency bias these days is a pretty big thing. And you've got a big history in the sport. Obviously, I think Oceanside was your 10th 70.3 win? You probably don't even know, but I know.
That's I don't know. I think, but that'd be cool.
I counted it. Yeah, I think that was your 10th 70.3 win. But before that, you had like a pretty expansive and successful career in the short course, like Olympic distance racing. How many world titles did you have there?
I didn't win any like world titles, but the World Triathlon Championship Series, they called it. They still have it today. It's called something different, but it's like that whole series that leads up to the grand final. So I won 5 of those, and they were all in a row. Like I won back to back to back to back to back. And this was in end of 2010 leading into 2011. So the year before the 2012 Olympics. And with that winning streak, of course I was like pegged a favorite for the Olympic Games that were the following year. Sure. But catastrophes happened at the end of that winning streak, and I got really badly injured in my hip and I auto-qualified for the Olympics because of my success in 2011, but was kind of spending that whole year pre-London battling with this injury. And I was a fairly young athlete at the time. So really kicking me into like, wow, suddenly I have sponsors and suddenly I have pressure. And it was all so new to me that I didn't really know how to manage the injury correctly in order to be healthy for London. And
and how old were you at that time?
I was 21. So not super young, but
Pretty young, dude.
relative to now. Yeah. I mean, my experiences were fewer. I hadn't had the high yet where I just like was in the spotlight like that. So it takes a bit of time for an athlete to like learn that and get used to it and have a manager and all these things that were like very fresh in a very condensed period of time.
Yeah. Crazy. And then how much longer did you stay short course for a while, right?
Yeah. So after the London Olympics where I had a really bad race, but you know, if I had been in the shape I was in 2011, could have potentially won that race.
Sure.
So I really wanted to go another 4 years and try to go to Rio and give it another crack because I still deeply believed that athlete was still in me. And if I could just get healthy and get, you know, my ducks in a row again, I could be a podium contender in Rio 4 years later.
Sure.
So yeah, I just like stuck to the short course grind for 4 more years. So it's a lot of traveling. It's a lot of federation stuff, like living out of a suitcase and all stuff I was used to, but it was not going as well because my injury was not really going away. And my body was changing as I was like turning into an adult,
right,
just like a lot of things I was dealing with. So I actually didn't even qualify for the Rio Olympics. And it was after that period where I was like, I think I need to try something new and started to kind of experiment with the 70.3 middle distance stuff.
Yeah, no, and I don't have all my notes in front of me, but it was St. George was one of your first big races in 70.3, right? Like 17 or 18?
Yes, exactly. I think it was 18 maybe, but I did one 70.3 in 2017 in Austin, Texas. A lot of the races they don't exist anymore.
Yeah, right.
But I raced like Sarah Groff and Jeannie Metzler, so some athletes that are still around today.
Yeah.
But yeah, St. George I'd say is my first bigger win on the middle distance side, which was in 2018.
Yeah, and it's funny because time flies.
Yes.
And I remember, I don't think I commentated that race. I'm positive I didn't, but I watched it and it was like we were all like excited to see what you were capable of and maybe a little bit surprised by how capable you were. And it was like, oh, this new athlete on the scene is going to tear up 70.3 and it's been 8 years.
It is kind of crazy how that big chunk of time between like my success in 2011 and then winning a 70.3 in 2018, throughout those years, like social media got bigger and people's awareness of the sport just expanded a lot. So I think a lot of people now that know me today or know Eric and I today have no idea what my history was in short course and that I've been in the sport since I was 15 and had basically a whole other career before I started the middle distance thing. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. And I still have to kind of still remind myself now that I was a runner back then and I was really fast and that's still in me somewhere. Right.
Yeah.
So that's kind of helped me stay in the sport through that big chunk of time where things did not necessarily go smoothly.
Totally. And I do think that to some extent, the Olympic distance like series, the WTS stuff is a little confusing, right? Because am I right in thinking, because I'm still confused, that you won like 5 of the grand final races?
Not the grand final. So there's like 6 or 7 or 8 races all year and then it ends with the grand final.
Right.
So I did the first 3 I won that year in 2011.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, gotcha.
And then I think I was like 4th at the grand final or something. So I didn't actually win the world title that year, but that was that's what I was on track for.
But then after that, they changed it to where the grand final, like whoever won that race didn't necessarily win the world championship. It was like the series.
No, it was like that then too.
It was. Okay.
Yeah. I think the one day world championship went away in like 2009 or something. Like it's been a long time, but that's kind of how the T100 is now too, right? It's like a full series long thing. And it's part of the reason I love 70.3 Ironman, where it's like a one-day world championship. And it doesn't matter how you do all year. You show up and perform that day and you're the world champ. So it takes away like the need to really plan the season meticulously and peak a whole bunch of times.
Right.
Where you like Patrick Lange, he shows up in Kona and beats everybody, but hadn't been as much of a factor for the whole year. But you show up when it matters and you win, and it's a big deal.
Totally. And it's less pressure to a certain extent. It lets the athlete take care of themselves maybe better. Like you look now, Sam Laidlow is, his body's not responding maybe how it normally would. And he's able to take his time because in the end,
Nice is all that matters.
Nice is all that matters.
Yeah.
Right. And I imagine was that part of what was so hard about the short course atmosphere and like maybe why your body wasn't as resilient when you tried to go to Rio? Is that like, it all seems very like you've got to be on now all the time.
Yeah. With a lot of traveling, and the races are shorter. So I think the recovery period versus a long course race is less, and I was younger, so I could recover quicker. But I think a lot of the stress that comes from short course racing is a lot of the outcomes are out of your hands. Like you're living by the federation and what they select you for and what they take you to for races. And on the flip side, they give you a lot of support normally if you're racing well, like travel, and you don't have to worry about expenses as much. But part of the reason that switching to middle distance was so appealing to me was you are in control of your own career a lot more. You can pick races you want to do. You're almost your own little business, and you have your own sponsors. I mean, there's more pressure that's involved in that from like a money-making perspective. But I think for me, it was really freeing to be able to dictate my own schedule and my own outcome ultimately at the end of the year.
Right. Do you feel like that, obviously you had great success early, and I'll say again, 21 is quite young.
Yeah, it is young.
You had that success early, but then also that like those struggles to a certain extent. Does having had that experience allow you to seemingly, like you've said on social media and kind of been honest about like this year moving forward near the quote unquote end of your career, enjoyment and process and like actually being happy throughout it is important? Do you think like you'd be able to be in the space that you're in now without those struggles and experiences in the past?
No, I think they were really formative. And I think maybe when I was a teenager, in my late teenage years, I was racing track and racing university swim team and like doing so much, and it was all I knew. And it was almost a little bit robotic. Like I would go to these races and expect myself to win, and I'd win and it's like on to the next thing. And I didn't take any moments to appreciate it or enjoy it or think, wow, I'm the best in the world at this. This is crazy. And I think then having that period of really bad struggles and like not being able to even get top 10 in races, and then coming out the other end of it and now having success again, it's definitely opened my eyes to, wow, I really need to appreciate the moments when they come. And even Oceanside, like I was so happy to win, even though maybe it wasn't the most competitive race of the year. I didn't have the perfect swim, bike, run. I really need to like wake myself up and think, that's amazing that you can win a 70.3, appreciate it in the time. And those are like the little moments where I didn't have that back when I was a teenager and winning races as a young athlete. So it's definitely opened my eyes to being a little more appreciative of that my body still can do this at a really high level, and I'm still having fun and enjoying it for the most part.
Right. And to me, it seems like it's even more outside of that, right? Like it's, you won Oceanside, which is great, and you're getting joy out of that and understanding that. But what you and Eric have been able to do, from the off season to now, and like, it seems like you're having a more fulfilled experience.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
And it's become our lives. Like when I was racing as a younger athlete, I was still a university student, and I was winning these big races, but I still wanted to go to medical school, and I didn't see a life in triathlon after the Olympics.
Right.
So meeting Eric, keep continuing to do this, building TTL, making it our job, which I never considered it my job before. I was just like an Olympic athlete. It's totally not what I had planned or had wanted necessarily, but it's been extremely cool that we can still make this work as a job, and we feel extremely lucky. And I can't think of anything else I'd rather be doing. So that's a good thing too. And when I'm struggling or when I'm thinking like this is hard, I come back to that, like, this is actually pretty sweet.
Totally. Because I mean, I think obviously you're right, and you guys are doing it as a job, but it seems like you guys are the enjoyment factor. Like you guys work hard, obviously, but it seems like you guys do prioritize enjoyment. And if it was the hard work was taking away from like your life experiences and your enjoyment, you probably would go somewhere else.
For sure. And I think maybe we have a little bit too much enjoyment sometimes, or we're sacrificing like the pointy end. Like, could I be 10% better or 5% better if we didn't go camping in the van this weekend? But we do take those sacrifices or compromises sometimes because those things are important to us. And I think that they've allowed us to have longevity in the sport and continue it to like now I'm 35, and it's because we have other things going on. It's
because of, not in spite of. And
yeah, that's true.
Honestly, and I use that all the time. And I think it's, for you, it's 100% true, because there's a certain thing, component that more athletes are paying attention to. And that's, get more technical and talk about like the nervous system and how that nervous system being, in a grounded and like happy state is going to help you perform. Or you can just go as simply as talking about happy watts. And like, it's scientifically proven that you push more power if you're like genuinely in a grounded, happy space.
Totally. Not just in training, but especially in racing.
Totally.
If you're going in and you want to be there and you're enjoying the whole thing. And that's what I took out of Oceanside, is I was pretty relaxed all week. I wanted to be there. I was excited to race. And then I ended up, the effort comes easier if you're wanting to do it. And
that was what, your 7th Oceanside?
Yeah. Crazy. Bob Babbitt reminded me of that.
Did he?
I had no idea.
He's got all the stats.
Yeah, he's got all the stats.
See, when he says the stats, he like knows they're true. When I say the stats, I'm like, I kind of think maybe.
No, well, he got it wrong actually, because he forgot that one Oceanside in 2021 where it was in the fall.
That you won, right?
That I won. So he had me doing 6, but in fact,
come on, 7. Bob. You can't forget the one that you won.
Yeah, he did. He didn't have it on his little paper.
Oh, that's funny. I'd forgive him for that as well. Tell us a little bit about the race. And you guys had, obviously, I think now with what you guys have built with TTL, that I can't just ask you about the race. Like, you guys had a kind of a big week down there, right?
Yeah, Eric and Nick have been working on a film all year, like a full feature-length 45-minute film.
Cool.
That they got a theater in Oceanside, premiered it, sold out.
Red.
So tons of people that have supported us through the years, and then also total strangers who support TTL showed up and watched this film, which was a success, and this was 2 days before the race. So it helped me take my mind off my racing.
Great, totally.
Because I was just helping them and excited for this big thing for us. And
that's awesome.
Even if I hadn't raced Oceanside, they would have still gone down to do this, because Oceanside, as you know, is such a big community hype fest for the beginning of the North American season. So we had to be there for it. And me winning was a little bit of the cherry on top of the whole weekend. So, I think now going to 70.3 races and Ironman races, it feels different, because it's not... Of course I want to win. Of course I want to do well, but it's really meaningful in a lot of other ways because of our community that we built with TTL and the people that we meet there and wanting to take pictures with us. It's like a whole different experience than going to an isolated bubble of like a short course race or something where you don't really interact with the age groupers, but that is part of the fun for us. And it's important with, we have a lot of stuff going on online, the podcast, the videos, but to meet people in real life is really cool.
So, and I imagine it's a little different scene than generally, quote unquote fans meeting you, right? Where, because TTL is so much about them experiencing kind of your life and what you're experiencing, at least when I see it and, at race week, and when I see it either through your posts or other people's posts, it seems like it's much more casual. Like, they feel like they know you, and it doesn't seem like you're at all like standoffish about, like, it feels like kind of a family's like maybe an exaggeration, but it does feel like there's a comfort with all those people, right? Yeah.
I sometimes forget that how much we share on the internet. And people know our dog and they know so much about us. And so, they do feel like they know us to the point where they come out to us and chat with us like we're friends. And I like that. I don't want people to feel like
that's cool.
They can't come say hi. And it's not like Eric and I are celebrities in any other domain in life. We're not even celebrities in Ironman race, but we're only recognized at an Ironman event.
Yeah.
It's not like we go out and bend and get stopped anywhere. So it is kind of cool and novel. And it's like this little pocket of time for the 5 days before the race where we are recognized, and it's really cool. And we welcome people to come and chat with us.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
It's fun.
Because I know people are going to want to talk about or hear about it, because it was such a great, you've said that maybe it wasn't the biggest or the best performance of your year, maybe looking forward, because kind of open things up. But it was a great race. You got your second 70.3 Oceanside win, which is a big deal. And maybe we should say first, like, why is Oceanside? Like, everybody, I think, that hasn't gone to Oceanside or hasn't been around is like, okay, it's just another 70.3, but it's not.
No, it feels different. And from the outside, I mean, you get there and it does have the California feel, like more than Southern California is so cool. Like, you got the palm trees and the relaxed vibe, and Oceanside, every time we go there every year, it's gotten cooler. It's like cool coffee shops and restaurants.
Yeah.
It's just a fun place to be. And for that reason, I think a lot of the triathlon industry comes to the race. So almost everyone we've ever met in North America through triathlon shows up at that event.
Yeah.
And it's a hard race, but it's a cool course that you like get to go through Pendleton, and the whole run, you're just like deafened by people yelling for you. So yeah, I don't know what it is about it, but it's intangible how it's like kind of a special thing. And I've done it every single year since I started middle distance racing.
So cool.
So it really is a good kickoff to the year. And I almost wouldn't even say that I enjoy the race itself every year, because it's such a shock to the system coming out of the winter.
Race.
It's so hard.
Yeah.
And it's cold and it's rough roads, but I do come out of it, I think, with a fitness boost just from doing the race early in the year, and then with some excitement and some like, okay, the race season has started.
Yeah.
So let's go from here.
Totally. Yeah. And you're right. I think it does have like kind of the SoCal vibes, and I think there's a lot, right? Like it's kind of like a family reunion, because all those industry people that you're talking about, you haven't seen since probably World Championship or the last race you did at the end of the year. Right.
Yeah.
So like everybody's pretty excited to be there. Nobody's burnt out yet.
Exactly.
And
people are in a good mood for the most part.
Totally. And like the crowd is sweet. Like, I think that was the first race. I mean, this is decades ago now, but like I was coming off the bike, and for once I was in the lead, and I had like the flat brim hat on or whatever. Mm-hmm. And you have like a surfer bro. I remember specifically surfer bro being like, "Send it, bro." And I was like, "What? This is so SoCal."
And he had no idea what was going on.
No idea.
Like, I'm going surfing.
Because you're the only person out. And you're like, I'm just like running down the boardwalk as fast as I can. He's like, "Send it."
Yeah.
Like, it's so cool.
It is cool, because people go to Oceanside, or like the people that live there, cool people for the most part. I don't know. It's totally a different feel than going to like the middle of nowhere to do a race where there's no spectators, and it feels very isolated. But this is the opposite. Yeah.
And I will say again, I think every year it was very underrated on, like, I think it's one of the hardest 70.3 courses on the circuit.
I would say that's maybe true.
Right. And like, there's always a maybe with it, but, and I think that's totally fair, but it's like that swim is cold. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure if the women are quite as gnarly as the men, but because when it's in the marina, like, it is the most physical swim of the year. It's gnarly.
Yeah, well, the fields on the men's side are enormous.
Yeah, it's like 80 guys.
It's so big. And for that reason, the start buoys were really far apart, because it's an in-water start.
Yeah.
So when the women got in, half as many women, we had so much room.
Oh, funny.
And like the women actually still bunched up, and I'm like, everyone take space. You can have like a full arm length on each side of you. Totally. Why are we all bunching up? So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it is a hard start though. Like in water, in the cold, the sun in your eyes on the way back. There's just like a lot of little things about it that all add up to make it this extremely challenging race. But every 70.3 is hard. But like we talked about earlier, I think the fact that it's the first one and you're not fully fit yet makes it feel that much worse.
Yeah, and a little nervous. You're kind of blowing the cobwebs out for the first time.
Yeah.
And then the bike ride is like rough. There's definitely some super fast flat sections in the beginning.
Yeah.
But then like it's
pretty hilly.
Pretty hilly.
Yeah.
And then what people don't get, and I don't know what it was like this year by looking at splits, but after you get through those climbs and like the last like 17, 20 miles back in, like there's some stair steppers and it's like technically downhill, but it's always a headwind.
Yeah, that's where I mentally kind of crack every year.
It's so hard.
And I get caught. But yeah, staying focused through that time I've done it so many times that I know all these things. Yeah. So I don't know if that makes it better or worse to know what's coming. But yeah, it's hard. And then the run just feels like it takes forever. Like doing 2 laps of that thing. is so long.
Yeah, you're like, I got to go out, and then I got to go back, and then I got to go out,
All the way to the
and then I
end.
go back. And it's this, I think it's this crazy juxtaposition of like intense crowds that like kind of taper off as you go to the out and back. But then
Totally.
at that first turnaround, or that like the main turnaround, you're like, there's nobody here.
Yeah, it's too far away.
Where am I?
It's too far
Totally,
away.
it's too far away. And then you like slowly get like trickles of people on your way back in. And then it's this big thing. You're like, I got to go back out to like where nobody is again.
Yeah, I know. It's a little mentally rough, but
And as we said, the concrete, we said before we started recording, the concrete can kind of tear your legs up a little bit.
yeah, it's not
so hard.
asphalt. It's actual concrete, like a sidewalk.
Yeah. It's
But
tough.
with super shoes, that's less of a factor.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, so talk us through your race. Or I should maybe prompt you through your race. How about that? I'm the podcast
Yeah.
host.
Well, I mean, we can do it quick.
Okay, I kind of got that vibe from you that you wanted to kind of do it.
Well, I
quick,
feel
so
like
we
I've
can do that.
recapped Oceanside, like we did it on our podcast a few
Yeah.
days ago. And do people really want to hear about my race? I don't know.
You don't have to do the whole thing, yeah. But like, it seemed like right away you were pretty comfortable on Clutterbuck's feet. Is that right?
Yeah, I was
Ish.
happy to have a good swim, and it was so eye-opening to know that a lot of the swimming, if you can get into a good spot right away, the rest of the swim is not that hard.
No.
It's like the fighting and the chaos that happens that makes it harder if you don't have a good first 200.
100%.
So I got out really well, and I was swimming beside her, and I had my eye on her from the start. I knew
sweet.
she was a good swimmer. And when we were swimming side by side, I thought, I'm better off getting on her feet because I know she's a strong swimmer, and it's faster for us to be swimming in a row
Yeah.
versus beside each other and trying to fight. So once I got on her feet, it was really smooth. I was in control, never felt like I was on the edge of getting dropped or
Okay.
anything. So that was nice to have feet that I was able to follow and that weren't too fast to make it, unachievable for the whole thing.
See, and that's good to hear because the reason I said ish was I think it was camera angle. It looked like at times you were
Too far.
a little far off the feet.
Yeah, I think that's something I should work on. I am the kind of open water swimmer where I don't want to touch the person's feet in front of me, and
You're just too polite. You're too Canadian.
maybe I don't want to be annoying, so it's really hard to judge how far you are. She was kicking a lot, so it was very splashy, but you're right. I think I could be a foot closer and
Two.
get a way more benefit.
2 feet. You got to touch the feet.
I gotta touch
It's kind
the
of
person
the
behind me
worst.
was touching my feet, and it didn't really bug me. I was like, okay, there's someone there, but as long as it's not constant.
And
it is.
there is a balance too, where if that person that you're on their feet is actually like enough of a better swimmer that they could drop you if they wanted to,
Yeah.
then you like never touch them.
Yeah, you want to be careful.
Dude, I had that with Luke
Yeah.
Bell once at Vineman, I think, and I was like, oh, this is perfect. And I was on his feet, and then I touched his feet once, and I was like, oh no. And he like looked over his shoulder.
He got so annoyed. He's like, shit, I thought I was alone.
He was like, I'm out.
No, but you're right. Maybe it was a little too far because when we started coming back to transition and it was blinding light,
Yeah.
we were catching some of the pro men and I got disoriented and I
Right.
lost her for a sec and
Yeah.
then couldn't find her.
That's kind of
So
it, yeah.
yeah, I didn't panic or anything, but it is hard to stay right there if you're
Right.
not right there.
Right. Totally. And then obviously you had a small little group. What is it, 3 or 4
Yeah, I think so.
out? And then early sections of the bike. I think we don't have to go too much in detail, but I think Oceanside, and we talked about this before the race, that it's very much a course that being smart about how you spend your energy is very important.
Yeah, and I had a pretty detailed plan with my coach of what my watts would be at certain sections. And
Yeah.
the tough part for me at Oceanside is that it's freezing. And it is for everybody, but you're coming out of
Totally.
the water and it's like 10 degrees Celsius in the air. And
Yeah.
I was literally shivering, and that takes a lot of mental energy to be like, okay, I'm cold, but just stay relaxed and try to push power. But the first part of that race is also, I would say, the most technical in terms of the road conditions and trying to avoid some of these really gnarly sections that are
Very early.
yeah,
Yeah.
like behind that shopping
Totally.
center.
Yeah.
The road is totally destroyed.
Yeah.
So I was actually riding my hoods through that just to make sure I didn't
Smart.
fall off my bike.
Yep.
And I think I was too cautious. Like a lot of the women I think that ended up catching me at 30K were riding those sections pretty aggressively.
Totally. But the pre-race favorite on the men's side flatted out
Yeah, you do have to, I mean,
because he hit something, right? So
Yeah.
what's too cautious?
yeah.
You still won the race, but
It's
yeah,
true,
carry
but
on.
it really
Yeah.
got to my head when I was being caught by people because in my head I imagined myself winning this race by getting 10 minutes on the bike or something.
Oh,
or,
really? Okay.
Like getting off with a gap.
Yeah,
Maybe not
gotcha.
10 minutes, but
Yeah.
riding alone the whole time. And
Right.
so when I was riding with 3 or 4 other people, I was like, oh man, I might not win this.
Right.
This is my strength and I can't break away, and I'm getting caught on all of the technical parts. So again, reinforcing that that's something I need to work on the bike. I keep saying that, but I actually need to this year. Like
Right.
It's where I lose races sometimes. It's just my confidence and keeping speed in the parts that aren't dependent on what your power is. Like I dropped everyone on the steep climb, but I got caught again on the downhill. So that's where I need to work on things.
Totally. And I think that's smart too. Like, you know, when I think about whether or not Oceanside is like technical, because my experience there was like, I was so used to riding in urban environments and training and stuff. Like I never even considered going around that supermarket as technical, but it is.
Right. It depends what you're used to. Yeah.
Yeah. But even if you're used to it to a certain extent, there's still like on your race plan to be like, okay, I need to be aggressive in this, but under no circumstances do I put myself in a position to flat, right?
Yeah.
Like there's just awareness around it. And the more that you can go into any race that you do with breaking it down to that like sharpness and be like, okay, yeah, there's no huge descent like in Nice. Like that's what we think of technical.
Yeah. Technical can mean a lot of things. It's not necessarily a cornery descent.
Totally.
It can be a flat road that has obstacles.
Yeah. And like not necessarily performing in that space can affect, as you said and explained, kind of your mental space in that race. Oh, this is not me riding well, where in reality, you're putting out probably the watts that you need to, but because you didn't do that quite how you wanted to, you're slower, but they're not as fast as you.
Yeah.
Right?
You can lose a lot of minutes through not cornering quickly or getting out of your aero bars when you should be in your aero bars. So that could be minutes of time. It's just like riding your bike well.
Yeah. And you can lose more minutes if you let that get in your head and thinking that you're not as strong as them.
Exactly. Yeah,
right?
yeah. So, I mean, that's why I look forward to St. George every year, because you know how that course is. It's wide open roads, generally good pavement the whole time, and you can get out of the swim and just go right away.
Yeah.
And I don't feel quite like that about Oceanside. You're like going over those speed humps to get into Pendleton.
Totally.
It's like really takes a lot of my mental energy as someone who gets a bit nervous on my TT bike.
Yeah.
St. George, I don't think about that stuff. I'm just thinking about racing from the start. And that's why I prefer that course. So.
Oh, totally. No, and there's a lot. And I think like the Oceanside course it's fine. It's not like dangerous or anything, but like you have to have your heads up because there's debris from being in like an ocean town. Like there's just stuff like every year.
Sand everywhere.
Yeah. And every year when you're riding through the field, there's like, oh, there's somebody on the side with the flat. Like that's just how it is.
How it is. Yeah. Yeah.
And to be fair, most of those people are ones that are trying to be aggressive or like I remember, I think Hoffman one year was that like he was running like the paper tires. And he's like, no, this isn't the race for that.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, Eric crashed one year too, and he was like in good position. So
yeah. No, it's one of those things. So rode well, you said and I saw, obviously watched the race, rode well up those climbs as you did last year. I think you had one of the best splits in that climb section last year as well.
Yeah.
And then just kind of lost a little bit of impetus.
Yeah. I mean, I knew I had a bit of a gap on people, but I don't know. I wasn't riding at the watts that I like wanted to or that my goals were.
Yeah.
But it's okay. I tried to just stay calm and keep my cadence pretty high. And then when I was caught by the little mini group, didn't panic, but used them because Lisa came around me and kind of used her to be like, okay, stay with her till transition. Like, just stay mentally checked in till the run. Because it is easy at that point in Oceanside to just check out and hate it. And I've done that before.
100%.
Yeah. So that actually kind of helped me to stay engaged. And Lisa came off the bike first, then me, then Jackie.
Yeah.
So a good group of women that everyone's a great runner, and especially Jackie. She's had some really fast run splits and usually actually outruns me from wherever she is in the field. So she actually came by me, and I'm good friends with her. And she's like, we could do a nice run together. I'm like, Jackie, I don't feel good. I think you're going to drop me. So she did put 30 seconds on me. And I could see her there the whole time. She basically put 30 seconds and then stayed there.
Yeah.
And I wasn't feeling amazing, but I was keeping her in my sight. And when I came past Eric at like around 9K, he's like, you can win this. It'd be so sick if you could win. And I was gaining a bit of time on her every mile, just like I could see it, and I was getting splits. And that really like flipped something in my brain. And a lot of the time in 70.3s, I've done so many in my life, I'm really complacent. And where I am on the run is usually where I finish on the run. Sometimes I'll get caught by people, but I don't usually have this fight in me to be able to fight back and repass or hold position when it's a close race. But for some reason, this race was different, and I got really competitive in the last 10K, and I was looking at my watch running 15 seconds per K quicker than I was at the start, and that was motivating. And yeah, I had a little pep in my step. I could feel my stride changing. I was more on my toes, and it was exciting to be catching her and have like some energy to be able to do that. And even when I caught Jackie with 5K to go or so, I still felt fairly in control and thought, if she stays with me, I think I have a kick in me right now.
Right.
So that was kind of fun. It was the first time I've like actually had fun in the last half of a 70.3 run.
Dude, that's amazing. That's amazing. And I was going to ask because, and I'm glad you said that, because at times watching you race or commentating on your race, you're right. It seems like you get complacent, or like I can feel like the air go out of your balloon, so to speak.
Totally.
Right? And you kind of just sit there and like in my head, or even like verbally, I'm like, come on, like I know you have this, right? So like, it's awesome that you had that trigger of Eric, like
reminding me
and not entering any negativity, right? Just being like, oh, that'd be really cool if you could win this race, right? Be like, oh, you know what? And it's not like there's not any expectation around that.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, oh, hey, we're here.
Yeah, might as well.
It'd be really fun if you tried to win.
Yeah.
Like, that's really cool.
And not get into that headspace where like second is still great. And I like Jackie so much. Like, it'd be great for her if she won.
See, and is that where your head goes sometimes?
Yeah, it does. To make it seem okay. Because in my brain, I imagined winning. But letting go of that slowly as I was running, and it's easy way to do it.
And that would be probably the easiest person for you to do that with.
Yeah, because I like her so much.
Right.
Yeah. But the other thing is Danielle Lewis was running us down. And I was like, I really don't want to get third. So
Jackie just got caught in the crossfire.
But I forgot to say, a big factor of this, and I think the reason I felt so good on the back half of the run, was I ate probably 3 times more than I normally do on the bike.
Oh, okay.
Like, I really focused on my nutrition. And something I'm fairly open about being not great at is eating on the bike and taking gels and getting carbohydrates in. And I just get so caught in the moment or focused on what I'm doing and forget, or I don't even know what it is. But this time I really put an effort into it. And I think that's got to be the reason I felt good in the last half of the run.
Yeah, especially on a course like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Because with the cold and the roughness of the road at times, like it takes a little bit more out of you. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's rad. It's fun watching you learn these things even in like later stages of
I know,
career,
like, wow,
right?
I'm finally learning to eat on the bike. That's a very big step.
Yeah, totally. And actually, and I'm sorry, what I mean is, and that is, a lot of people do that, is the mental side of it. Right?
Yeah.
Like you being in that moment. And obviously I think what we talked about earlier in the podcast of you putting yourself in this position where everything's about kind of enjoyment and like a well-roundedness to your life, that if you didn't have that and you went into Oceanside being like 100%, I need to win, this is what it's about. If Eric said, hey, it'd be cool if you could win, you'd be like, no. Like it'd be different.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's this holistic space, I think, that you've built for yourself that allowed that moment for you to say the first time in a 70.3 you ran well in the second half. That has to do with calories for sure.
Yeah.
But I think it has to do with mind space in that moment. But I don't think that moment's possible unless you've like created the space that you've made for yourself.
For sure. It's like a bit more of a holistic view. And you don't have the energy to tap into that unless you're happy and relaxed outside of it.
Yeah.
Because you're just at capacity the whole time. And I think that's what's happened to me in the past in a lot of racing, where I didn't necessarily want to be there. Or I felt like I wasn't excited about the race. Then it's impossible to get into that space.
100%.
And that's when I get really complacent and think third is fine, instead of just like, I'm a good runner. I can run 2 minutes quicker than I'm running right now.
Totally.
So yeah, it's a good lesson for leading in. And it's of course easy to say this now that I've done it. I'm like, I could do that again. But it does make it easier to imagine myself winning more races when I felt that way in Oceanside.
Yeah, and you certainly can do it again. And it's funny too, because it is all like a sum of parts, right? Because it's the calorie thing too, because and Eric's probably out of ear shot right now, but it's, he's probably like, man, I've said that to her like in like 10 races, right? And
so
like usually
people.
she's like, bah, bah, bah.
Yeah.
Right? Because
well, it's a little bit this new coach that I have who's like, duh, you have to eat on the bike. Like, what are you doing? And so many little things like that, where Paula, my former coach, was also encouraging of this, obviously, but there's some kind of excitement and newness and wanting to like impress. Not even that, but yeah, it's just gotten my shit together
totally.
a little bit more.
Totally. And like the calories have an impact on mentally. You're like, I know if I've got a family member or somebody that says something to me on the side of the race and I want to bark back at them, I'm like, oh, I think I need more calories because I'm being a jerk right now, right? Like that's the first thing that goes. And that can be the difference on whether or not you like believe that you can get up on Jackie's shoulder. And
for sure. And it's not even just in racing. Like I've been obviously practicing it in training. And I think before I thought I can't do 4-hour bike rides. That's awful. But now that I eat on them, it's actually not that bad. So it totally transforms training as well. And it's so basic. Everyone talks about it, but it's just something I've never been good at. And now that I've started to practice with it, training feels easier. Recovering is easier. Totally. Getting out the next day is easier. So it's quite simple. You just got to
get on my training program where anytime you ride, and this is legit, and everybody that used to ride in Bend with me knows, if you ride more than 3 hours, you're going to Angeline's and you're going to get some baked goods and Sisters. And
we always stop in Sisters somewhere. Yeah, that's a rule.
That's amazing. That's sweet. So let's talk a little bit about, I know you've got St. George coming up, which is exciting. And what is it about, is it the toughness of that course or just the environment there? What is it that you love about that race?
Yeah, the bike course really suits me. I think it's hilly enough to be hard, but it's not as technical, I don't think, as Oceanside or some of the other races. It's like big sweeping ups and downs, which I can like ride and push power the whole time on. Yep. I've had great races there. So obviously that helps just to have positive memories and good vibes going into it. I know the logistics, like going out to Sand Hollow, dropping your bike, all that is second nature at this point. And it's the last year there, right? It's not happening anymore. Yeah. So it would be fun to go out with a good race. And I just really like it.
Sweet. And actually we should talk about a little bit about you guys are doing a series this year, right? With Wahoo for Ironman. What are we calling that?
Is it called the long game? Eric's in charge.
I think it's called the long game.
Yeah. So this whole idea came up last year when I was like, I'm doing my first Ironman next year. I have to. Yeah. And decided on Placid, got really pumped about it. And although I put it out there, which is like a scary thing to do, right? To say a goal and it's new and it's something that I totally have no idea if I'll be good at or not. And through training for Oceanside and St. George and finding some speed and having a different coach, I'm second guessing it a little bit. And I'm like, do I really want to do an Ironman this year? Or do I want to go all in on 70.3 Worlds and try to podium there and be fast and just have this, similar to the way people prep for Kona and make it their whole year, do that for 70.3 Worlds and make that the biggest deal of my season without plugging this big unknown into the middle of it. But at the same time, I do want to try something different. I think I'll be good at it. Yeah. It's an exciting story. And it's really like having that in the back of my mind is part of the reason I've been better at nutrition and just thinking about these little things that are essential in Ironman racing. So a little bit undetermined still, but regardless, we're going to have a cool story this year. And Eric's been filming my training leading into a possible Ironman, but also an ultimate focus of racing well in Marbella.
Love it. And I love everything about that because the trying something different, the putting it out there, like I think that's huge. Mm-hmm. And like Ironman is scary, and that's why it's like such a rad thing, right? Yeah. But I think I love just as much, and maybe more to a certain extent, the Marbella part, because that's Paula believing that she can win a world championship.
Yeah. And I haven't felt like that the last couple of years. I was second in 2022.
I know.
And of course, Taylor Nibb's in the sport, and I put her on this pedestal and think she's unbeatable, but anything can happen in a race. Mm-hmm. And she's doing so much this year. Maybe she'll be tired by then. So if I just take this race and that's my focus, who knows what can happen? And I have a team now around me that believes it can happen, looking at, data from previous years and all these glaringly obvious low-hanging fruit types of things I can improve on in my own racing. Maybe it's possible. So I don't want to do an Ironman just to give up on like, okay, I'm never going to beat Nib, or I'm never going to win a 70.3 world. So let's just totally do something different.
Yeah.
That's not the reason I want to do a full. So
totally. No. And I think that's sweet. And I think, being second in 2022, from reality of an athlete or someone that's been around the sport, we know that like sometimes, like, yes, if Taylor has the best race that she can have on the day, she's like pretty hard, if not unbeatable to beat.
Yeah.
But the person that puts themselves in that second position is putting themselves in the position to win.
Yeah.
And
like Kat did this year.
Totally. And like, if that person that could get second tries to beat Taylor on her best day, they're also not going to win, but they need to put themselves in that second position and try to sweep up. Right. And I think that's a smart goal, but I will push back a little bit in the fact that, and we can talk more about this off the books, but I think, and obviously no pressure, and you're not going to take any like pressure from it, but like, I think you can do an Ironman in the space that you've created for yourself, because just like Eric said at 9K, like, you can win this race. You'd be like, you're doing an Ironman, right? Like, it can be that fun. It can be a distraction and a fun part of a season where you have this very serious goal at the end. Yeah. That is a distraction to an extent. And I think,
you don't have to change your training drastically, I think, also, right?
That's what I'm saying, right? Yeah. Like, you could do that if you wanted to, like, knock it out of the park and like do the thing. Or you could, especially if you're riding more because you've got a new coach that's cycling specific. We know that the training isn't that much more on the bike. You've got all this running distance in you from your past. You can tweak it a little bit and not do much more, and then go out on the day and be like, we're just going to do it and see what happens. And to a certain extent, that, in my opinion, can be the best way to do your first Ironman with literally no pressure, expectations.
Yeah. Actually, Alistair Brownlee said this to me. I don't know him that well, and I don't talk to him ever, but he's like, yeah, you should do an Ironman next year, but don't train for an Ironman.
Exactly.
Like, well, the Brownlees have so much volume in their day-to-day that maybe I can't totally live by that, but it is a good mentality of, you can still stay fast. You can still train for 70.3, quote unquote, but prep for an Ironman at the same time.
Yeah, and put it in a space in your head where it's about the experience, right? And it's about having fun. And it's not like you have to, like, if somebody goes by you on the bike, you're like, wow, that's cool. Yeah. They're having a good day. Like, I'm having fun. Like, whatever. We'll get out there and see what happens at the end of the day. Like, I think especially Placid too is one of those places where it's just a great experience. But
I've my friends that are in the sport, Heather Jackson, Lindsay Corbin, have said that that's a good race for me. Even 2 or 3 years ago, they're like, that should be your first Ironman. Yeah. So it's in the US, it's hilly, it's not too hot. It's just like everything about it checks the boxes of an Ironman I'd be excited to do. So we'll decide in the next couple weeks, but I'm just getting through St. George, and like the training's not that different anyway.
Yeah.
So
that's great.
I'm just happy, like, living in the moment.
Totally. And I think you've said it to a certain extent, but because I'm so excited about that mind shift for you about 70.3 Worlds, what do you think changed over last year and this year where you could look at a race in November and be like, yeah, someone that I think, and I don't think I'm out of line saying this, but like, you have not believed in yourself.
Yeah.
How do you get to that point where you're like, you know what? Because I believe that you can win a world championship. How did you get to that point this year?
Honestly, it was a little bit this coach that I'm working with now, believing it.
Yeah. And
she's from a cycling world, so she doesn't know exactly the ins and outs of the triathlon, but she's just looking from a pure data perspective. And I mean, I didn't run that much slower than Taylor Knibb. The gaps on the bike with focusing on nutrition and technical skills and the power I'm able to do in training, putting those pieces together could close that gap more. So I don't know. It still feels like a huge stretch, but I'm never going to do it unless I believe I can, unless I try to. So that's, I guess that's what sparked my excitement about it, is having a team around me now that, you know, verbally expresses like, you can do this and let's go all in on it. Why not? Like, I'm only going to do this sport for 3, 4, who knows how many more years. I might as well, while I still have the ability to dream like this and make it, just see if I can. So
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. And even if I don't win, like, podium would be amazing, or just like coming away with a race that did the absolute best I can.
That's awesome. And then any other 70.3s on the schedule right now for that?
Well, depending whether or not I do the Ironman.
Yeah.
I think it'd be so cool to do Boise 70.3, Santa Cruz 70.3. Like, the thing about if I don't do Placid, I can add 2 or 3 more 70.3s.
And was Boise, have you done Boise?
No, and it's not part of the Pro Series, but who cares?
No, and I agree. But Boise was one of those races on the West Coast that was around for so long that it's a really cool.
It hasn't been
cool
a race
venue.
since I started halves.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
And I love Santa Cruz. Like, that's kind of as I showed in Oceanside, like, if I'm doing races I want to do, I'm excited about. The spot is cool. We can drive there.
Yeah.
That's how I race best. So just go and try to win a bunch of 70.3s.
Dude, I love it. I think that's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome. To end, because I feel like you've had so much growth in the last like 2 or 3 years, and especially I think mentally in the last like year, 18 months, any piece of like, and I know it's hard to give like one piece of advice, but to the age groupers that are like banging their head against the wall, they've got a family, a 40, 50 hour a week job, all those things, but are trying to do triathlon and get as much success in pace or, you know, just crossing that finish line in Ironman. What advice would you give them? And it can be holistic, it can be data driven, whatever, to like help their experience moving forward.
I would say what I've learned over the last 7 years of doing middle distance and then just racing my whole life is it doesn't even really matter that much what the structure of what you're doing is, or everybody's training hard, everybody's doing workouts, everyone's doing intervals, everyone's doing aero testing now. But I think that the mindset that I've adopted recently and throughout periods of my career have meant so much more to my performances and the outcome of races than exactly what I was doing on a day-to-day basis. And I used to be very obsessive about, still am to a certain extent, hitting certain paces or having a perfect workout or doing better than I did last week. But if you can let go of that and just do your best on the day and then forget about it as soon as you're done, so reset, do it tomorrow, that's the most important thing, is consistency. And I would say age group athletes are actually better at this than pros because they do have so many other things in their lives that they can finish a workout and then they got to go make dinner for the family or something. So it's in a way easier to check out of that time they have for themselves to train.
Yeah.
And as professional athletes, I think it can be so all consuming that having those like bad days or not great sessions can really mentally impact you for days to come. So just being able to dissociate, like, I did this, it's in the past, move forward, do the next thing, and stay as consistent as you possibly can. That's the only way I race well, is if I'm training consistently with not a lot of interruptions. Not every session is magic and amazing, but I can bounce back and do the next one. So yeah, you learn to appreciate that when you've been through spells of injury or unhappiness and just don't want to get out the door. It's like, just appreciate it for what it is and then be able to move forward. So I don't know if that's the best advice, but it's kind of what I'm adopting this year anyway.
I'd say it's the best advice, or the best advice adjacent for sure. Consistency is key, and however we can allow ourselves to do that, like both from like a structural level as not being injured and a like holistic level to be able to do that, I think is the most important thing. For
sure. And then for age group athletes, it's like making the most of the time you have to train. It doesn't have to be 15 hours, it doesn't have to be 12 hours, just whatever you have, be efficient with that time. Yeah. So whether that's maybe swimming one time less a week because it takes forever to drive to the pool and back and do a hard trainer session. I don't know. I'm just in the belief that like fitness builds on fitness, and you don't have to do like 3 swims a week and be so rigid about it. Do what your day allows, and you can have a lot of success that way.
Dude, love it. Well, I'm excited to watch the rest of your season, and we can tune in the Wahoo series, the long game. I think first episode's coming up pretty soon.
Yeah, so Eric started this series when we were training in Tucson, and I was like all in on doing Placid, and Heather was there, and I mean, I still haven't decided yet, so it could still happen. But in this first episode, I'm like, I am going to be an Ironman. Like, it's my new thing.
That's hilarious.
So we've pivoted a little bit, but hopefully it's like a little bit of a different look into what we're doing for training in my life than what we've shown in the vlog and stuff. So
yeah,
as if everyone needs more insight into our lives. We don't show enough, but yeah, it should be good.
That's awesome. Well, appreciate it, and appreciate you having a little chat.
Yeah, thanks for coming over.
Yeah,
that was fun.
For sure. And if you guys want to stay across all the latest happenings on the Ironman scene and the Ironman Pro Series news, follow at Ironman Try on Instagram and check out proseries.ironman.com for standings, athlete bios, and all that good stuff. And do have to thank, obviously, our great sponsor, Morton, for continuing to support this podcast. Couldn't do it without them. All their hydrogels and bars will be out on course this year in the Ironman events. So pay attention to what's on course, because as Paula said, more carbs you can get in.
Yeah, I
better.
actually took like 6 Morton gels in that race. I'm not sponsored by Morton though.
There you go. Well, maybe that can change after this, but it is important. And the more that you can absorb, you can't just throw any carbohydrate in. That's the thing, is you got to have carbohydrates that are actually going to be absorbed in the system. So give Morton a try, and appreciate them supporting the podcast. Yeah, that's it for today. Super appreciate Paula coming in, and or me coming into Paula's house,
yeah,
and having this chat. I'm Matt Lieto, and we'll see you next time.